Something I've been learning recently, very recently, is when you let yourself feel what you're feeling, it gives you the permission to be yourself and to feel yourself and to know yourself in a more intimate and authentic way. When you let yourself feel what you're feeling, rather than meeting negative feelings with dismissiveness or denial or fear or judgment, belittling yourself or running from your feelings, repressing your feelings, avoiding your feelings, distracting yourself from your feelings. When you can meet all of you and how you're feeling in a given moment, it's literally like, you know that sweet feeling, like imagine like you have a stuffy nose and it finally clears up, or you're dehydrated or you're just really thirsty and you can finally drink some water, or you've had a headache for the whole day and finally you can feel it starts to ease a bit. That's what it feels like when you give yourself the permission to feel what you're feeling. Because it's almost like it's hardwired into our very being that when we feel something negative, whether that's anger or sadness or judgment of ourselves, feeling insecure, feeling a lack of confidence, feeling not good enough, all these things, all these negative things, anxiety, all these things, when these feelings come up, it's almost like we've trained ourselves so precisely to get rid of it. We get rid of it. We run away from it. We distract ourselves from it. We justify it. If we feel sadness, we say, well, the world sucks. Or if we feel pain from someone leaving us or someone, or you feel pain from someone leaving you, say, well, they're a bad person. Or you feel anger and you say, well, the world is horrible. You know what I mean? You justify your emotional state so that you don't really have to deal with it. You're kind of putting it off. You're doubling it and giving it to the next person. You know what I mean? You're passing it down the line. You're blaming the world. You're blaming someone else. You're blaming nature. You're blaming life. You're blaming your job. You're blaming culture. It's this not taking accountability. And it's scary to take that accountability, because when you take that accountability, you realize that these feelings are in you. These feelings are you reacting to the world or to yourself. These feelings are you responding to the world. You know what I mean? And yeah, I've just been realizing that, all my life, I've ran from how I feel. But recently it seems like when I feel a certain way, I say, yes, this too. This is okay. This is allowed. It makes sense. It makes sense. We hear a lot, surrender or let go. To let go doesn't mean to get rid of. We think, I'm just going to let it go. It's often the people that say, I don't even care, that care the most. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be proclaiming that you don't care. Not caring means you don't care. You don't even think about it. But it's when you say, I don't care about it. Screw that, you know? I'm letting it go. I give up, whatever, I let it go. That's a sort of roundabout way of saying, please get this feeling out of me. I don't want this feeling inside of me anymore, so please get rid of this feeling. It's not actually letting go. It's trying to force this feeling out of us. You know, saying, I'm letting go, screw it. You know, I don't care anymore. That's the same thing as running away from your feelings. You're invalidating yourself by saying you don't care anymore. Obviously you care. Look at how you feel inside. You know what I mean? Look at how all of the energies and all of the emotions are occurring in your body. Obviously you care. But the thing is the key to get rid of those feelings, or is the key to, for once in your life, let yourself feel it? This is what I'm starting to like realize and work with and consider, is maybe instead of my life being shaped and molded by me constantly running away from how I feel inside, maybe I should just kind of settle back into the natural intelligence of what my body is feeling and what my mind is feeling. Rather than constantly, you know, sort of insulting my own thoughts and emotions and feelings by, you know, invalidating myself, saying I shouldn't be feeling this. It's not that big of a deal. If I were better, I wouldn't be feeling this. Or, oh my God, I don't want to feel this. Here, I'm going to go and do this to try to not feel it. You know? There needs to be space for all of ourselves. You know? Like, I think it was Carl Jung who said, if you want your branches to reach up into the light of heaven, you must also be willing to have roots that descend down into the depths of hell. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Why? We're cherry picking our own lives, you know? Not only in running away from how we feel inside, but also running away from stuff going on in the outside world. You know, you're friends with somebody and then they say something you don't agree with, so you're not friends anymore. Or you have a job and stuff starts to get a little hairy, a little weird, so you quit. Or you're in a relationship with something and something gets a little fiery and a little, you know, disagreement or whatever, or argument, and you dip out. You know? We run away. We run away from the negativity. You know, to bring up Carl Jung again, he calls this the shadow. The shadow side of ourselves is the side that's not available to our conscious mind. And he calls it the shadow not only to sort of signify and embody the sort of negative tendencies, the dark tendencies of that shadow, but it's also called the shadow because you can't get away from it. You can't run from your shadow, man. It's coming from you. It is you. You know what I mean? It's where the light has yet to be shined on. You know, all this Carl Jung stuff is coming to my mind. You know, he says, to become whole, or this is paraphrased, but to become whole, you don't imagine figures of light, but you bring the darkness into the light. You shine the light on the darkness. And how do you shine the light on the darkness? You let yourself feel. You know? You gotta work on not being afraid of your own emotions and your own thoughts. You know? You've probably heard the term inner child before. This is something that I've heard a lot, you know? But once again, it's one of those things that I'm starting to kind of consider the gravity of. When they talk about the inner child, you know, and childhood trauma, and how the way we were raised as children kind of paints how we operate as adults, how we go about situations as adults, you know? That inner child, it's how you innately feel. When you really just listen to yourself, that inner child is always right there, speaking. If your friends are doing something and you don't feel like doing it, you don't feel like going, and they're asking you if you want to go, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't really want to go. But then there's this sort of secondary voice that's like, well, no, you should go to hang out with your friends and be out there and, engage with your friends. A good friend would go out and hang out with all of them. But something else in you is like, I don't feel like going. That's the inner child, man. That's the inner child saying, do we have to go? I don't really want to. Now, do you honor that part of you? Or do you silence it and tell it, go sit down, I'm gonna do the right thing? You know what I mean? My mom, I've been having this conversation with my mom, and she made that kind of clear to me, talking about how the inner child is always sort of voicing itself, and the sort of alienated macho ego is like, hold on, inner child, inner little me that's speaking truth and authenticity. I'm going to do what I think is right. You know what I mean? I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to put an end to this. And the inner child just is kind of like, well, what about how I feel? And the ego is like, nope, hold on. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? I don't really feel like going. Nope, we're going to go. Friends go and hang out with at the get-togethers, at the occasions, I could use some socializing, you know what I mean? And you're kind of, I hope that analogy makes sense. You're kind of abandoning how you actually feel because of some conceptual model of what you think is right, or what you think you should do, or how you think you should feel. You know what I mean? And that kind of brings me back in the direction of talking about how we dismiss our feelings. That inner child is like, man, I'm sad. This sucks. This hurts. Or that's so annoying, that I'm so irritated right now. Or fear. I'm so afraid right now. I feel so little. I feel so tiny. And it's all so big. And we have our intellect, which is where the ego is hanging out, says, no, I'm brave, I'm strong, I don't care about that. I'm gonna run away from these feelings. I've heard it called the stiff upper lip, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't care about that. Are you fine? Yeah, I'm fine. Are you sure? Yeah. Even though the muscles on your face and the tone in your voice and the way you're slamming things around and everything about you says you're not fine, but you're kind of just severing yourself from the truth, that inner child, how you actually feel, because you're ashamed of yourself. That's really what I'm talking about, is we're scared to be who we are. And that fear of being afraid of who we are keeps us in this perpetual loop of engaging in activities and doing things that elicit a chain reaction of continuing to feel ashamed of ourselves. Because we're not letting ourselves feel. We're not letting ourselves be where we're at. We're not letting ourselves digest how we feel about things. It's just one thing after the next. We do something and it makes us feel weird, and since we're afraid to feel that weirdness, we go and do another thing. And then that thing's cool for a little bit, and then it starts to make us feel weird, and since we don't let ourselves feel weird, we go and do another thing. We keep changing the outside to accommodate our internal weirdness. The Indian saint Ramana Maharshi said, it's easier... Okay, here's what he said. He posed it as a question. He said, would you rather cover the entire surface of the earth in leather so that you can walk around barefoot, or would you rather just put shoes on? Are you going to go around manipulating the entire external world so that you don't have to deal with your stuff? Or are you going to just once and for all deal with your stuff so that you can face and embrace the world as it is? You know? It's harder to change the external world to fit your internal problems than it is to change your internal problems to fit the external world. If you can hear that. It's easier to work with your stuff so you can live with reality as it is than it is to try to manipulate reality to fit your discomforts and your lack of integration of yourself, your lack of knowing yourself. You know? Yeah, it's hard, man. It's hard because to allow yourself to feel that could mean being sad all day, or being frustrated all day, or being confused and anxious all day. And we need to have the patience to let ourselves move through that with grace and with wisdom. What's more gracious? Letting yourself feel, giving yourself the permission to feel how you naturally feel, or dismissing your feelings because they don't fit this conceptual model of how you think you should feel? What feels more authentic? What feels more legit? Maybe just one day a week, let yourself feel how you naturally feel. Don't try to think your way out of it. Don't try to do something to get away from it. Don't try to distract yourself. Don't pretend it's not there. Fully embrace how you feel. Just let yourself be. Just let it all happen naturally, trusting that it knows what it's doing. Just try doing that one day a week, and then the other 6 days a week, just control everything and, pretend you don't feel what you're feeling and act like everything's okay and, do the usual thing where you dismiss how you're feeling, and just start with one day a week. It's the let go day. It's the surrender day where your mission is to let whatever happens happen and let yourself feel the way that you naturally and spontaneously feel all day long. The thoughts, the actions, all of it. Just let it all happen. Try doing that one day a week and see that difference. I said it in the beginning that when you let yourself feel, you're learning more about yourself. You're putting an end to telling yourself to shut up, really. Bad, don't feel that, don't think that. You know what I mean? That's what we're always doing when we're running away from our feelings. Yeah, I know that I could really benefit from learning how to more graciously be with how I'm feeling. Because this whole learning and healing, is about knowing what I'm healing from and knowing what it is that's healing. And how am I going to heal and grow if I don't know what to do that? You know what I mean? How am I going to heal if I don't know what needs healing? So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Learning how to embrace how you're feeling and letting yourself feel it. You know, you think of like anxiety attacks or panic attacks. You know, just you know, what's the alternative? You know, run, scream, you know? Just be and let it be. Let it be, let it be. Let it all be. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later.